increase the number of digits because we have removed one digit. And then in the next iteration, we are coming here and we are as well saying, okay, so take that last digit and increase my counter like this. And then in the next iteration, take the last digit, increase counter, and in the next as well, take last digit, increase counter, and then when we come next time, we really have nothing more to count. So there are no more digits left. Our number at this iteration here is going to be equal to 0, and then we are going to know that there is nothing else to count. And then we are really going to leave our while loop and we are going to write out the value that our counter variable is holding, which is at this iteration 4. So let me show you how we can do that in our code. So I'm going to delete this part here. We don't need it anymore. And then here I'm going to write out the following. So as we explained already, first thing that we need to do is we need to create a variable that is going to be called counter, like this, or digits counter, however you prefer. And that variable I'm going to assign a value of 0 initially. And after we have created this variable here, now we need our while loop. So while, like this, and then inside these parentheses here, we really write out a condition that our while loop is going to check each time that it wants to run, each time that it wants to iterate. And that condition here is really going to be, please check whether my number is greater than 0. Okay, so in any case where our number is greater than 0, our while loop is going to execute this block of code that I put inside these parentheses. And what we are going to put inside these parentheses, well, as we already explained previously, first thing that we need to do is we need to say number is equal to number divided by 10. And what this line of code is going to do? Well, let me show you that on an example. Let's say that our number, so our number holds a value of 1, 2, 3, like this. And this line here really says the following. It says, please do this expression here, so calculate it, and whatever this expression here results in, assign that to my number variable. And 1, 2, 3, so 123 divided by 10, because this here is whole number, so it's integer, and this here is whole number as well. The result is going to be whole number, and that is going to be 12, or 12.3, but because the result has to be the whole number, that 0.3 part is just deleted. Bye-bye. So then this 12 in this situation is going to be assigned to our number variable. Okay, so that means that this number divided by 10 is really going to take away that last digit, which we have previously explained. So I'm going to delete this part here. Okay, and this line of code, there is really one more way to write this. So write the same thing. So I'm going to comment this here, and I'm going to write out number divided equal, so number r, like this, 10. Okay, so this line of code here and this line of code here are exactly the same. This is just a shorter way to write this here, and this looks prettier to me, but you can leave whichever of these two you prefer. Okay, so after we have taken the last digit from our number, what we are left to do is to increase our counter variable by 1. So we can do that using our increment operator here. So this part of code has really, in each iteration, taken away one digit and then increased counter variable. So what we should do now, after our while loop finishes, we should really write out how many digits our number contained. So we are going to write out count number contains, like this, and then let's write out the value that our counter variable is holding, like this. What is this? Oh, it says count instead of cout. Okay, and then let's write out just digits, like this. Okay, so our number contains whatever our counter variable is holding, digits. So now I can really run my program, and let's do that. So it asks us to enter a number. Let's enter number 123, for example, and it says that our number contains 3 digits, which is correct. So let's very quickly explain one more time how this has happened. So I'm going to stop my program, and I'm going to say here that our user has entered number, let's say 123. So our program in this situation comes here to our while loop, and it says please check whether the number that our user has entered is greater than 0, and that number is 123, so 123, which is greater than 0. So then our program can really start executing this while loop. So it enters here, and then it comes to the first line of this while loop, and it says please do this expression here. And this expression here really just takes the last digit of our number away, and that is going to be 3, so we are going to take that away. And then the next thing that needs to happen is increase the value of our counter. Since previously the value of our counter was 0, now the value is going to be increased by 1, so that is going to be 1. And after that, our program comes here, and because of the nature of the while loop, it goes back here. It checks again whether our number is greater than 0. Our number is 12 now, so the 1 digit has been taken away. So that is still greater than 0, so then our number really comes here, and then does this line of code again. So it says again, please take away 1 digit from my number. So then it takes away this 2 part, and then it comes here. It says, now increase my counter because you have taken away 1 digit, and that is going to be 2 now. After that, our program comes here and then goes back here, checks whether our number, so whether our 1 is greater than 0. It says yes, and then it comes here and it says, please divide my number by 10, so take away that 1 digit. So that 1 digit is taken away, and we are left with 0, and then our counter is increased by 1, and then we are really going to come here again, and then our program goes back and says, please check whether my number, so whether 0 is greater than 0. And then our program says, no, it is not. So our while loop is not executed anymore. And then it comes here instead, and it writes out that our number contains 3 digits. And there is one more situation that I want to show you, and that is going to be what is going to happen in a situation where our user decides to enter a negative number. So let's run our program and let's see how our program is going to behave in that situation. So now I'm going to enter a number of -335, for example. And you see that our program writes out that our number contains 0 digits. Why has that happened? Because our program has come here, so it has increased our counter. It has actually assigned our counter a value of 0, and then it has come here and it has really tried to check whether our number is greater than 0, but because our number is -335, that is not greater than 0, so our program then really is not going to execute this block here, but it's just going to go here directly. So then it's going to write out that our number contains, and the value that it has assigned to our counter here, which is 0, so our number contains 0 digits, and that's the message that you see here. So that is the explanation of this behavior, and we need to solve that now. How we are going to solve that? Well, it's pretty simple. So here, when we come to this else block, in this situation, in this 14th line of code, we are really sure that our number is not equal to 0 because we have checked that here. But here we really don't know whether our number is less than 0 or greater than 0. So here we really have to check whether our number is less than 0, and if it is, we really need to get the absolute value of our number, which means if it is negative, we have to convert it to the positive number. So here I'm going to write out the following condition. So I'm going to say, please check if my number is less than 0, like this. And then if this here results as true, I'm going to write out here a way for my program to convert this number, in case that it is negative, into a positive number. And how we can do that? Well, we can really multiply that number by -1. So we can say number is equal to -1 times number, like this. Okay, so now if I run my program, and if I enter value of -236, for example, our program now writes out that our number contains three digits, which is correct. So how has this happened? Our program has come here. It has really checked that our number is less than 0, and then it has come here and it has said, please do this expression here, and then assign that to my number. So -1 times -236, those minuses are going to really convert into plus sign, and then 1 times 236 is going to be 236. And after that, we are going to do the same logic here. So we are going to write out that our number contains 3 digits, which is correct answer. Okay, so that is the one situation that I wanted to explain, and there is also another situation that I want to explain to you, and that is what is going to happen in the following situation here. So let's see. Let me enter a number that is very, very, very large. I cannot even read this number here. So how our program is going to behave in this situation here? Write it in the comments down below, please, before I execute this here. And now if I press enter, what is going to happen? Well, our program has glitched a little bit, and after that it has written out that our number contains 10 digits. But this is definitely more than 10. Why has this happened? If you are not familiar with data types and overflow and concepts that I have already talked about in one of my videos, I am going to link that video here, so make sure to watch that video. And now I am very quickly going to explain what has happened here, but make sure to watch that video. So when we have entered this number here, let me stop this program and let me put a breakpoint here, and now I'm going to run my program. And what this breakpoint is going to do, it's really going to stop the execution of my program at this line here. And we haven't talked about breakpoints or debugging programs previously, but if you want me to include that in one of my next videos, make sure to write it in the comments down below, because I really believe that it is important for you to see how your program is executed line by line, so to be able to follow it. And in that way you can really discover any bugs and any situations that are tricky and that are happening inside your program, so you can see and control that better. So I have put here a breakpoint, and let's now enter a number that is going to be a very large number. Okay, so if I press enter now, you see that my program has really stopped the execution here on this line here. So after I have entered my number, and then even though I have entered a number that is pretty large, let's hover over this number variable. You can see that it is holding a value of 2,147,000,000 and something. So this value here is definitely not equal to this value here. But because our program has really gotten the value that is much larger than the maximum value that our int variable can hold, it has really assigned the maximum amount that our int can hold to our number variable. So that is what has happened in this program. And if I click continue now, you can see that our program writes out that our number contains 10 digits, because it really was holding a 10-digit number. So that is the maximum amount that our int type can hold. Okay, so that is the last situation that I wanted to explain to you, and I hope that you like this video, and if you have learned something new, make sure to subscribe to my channel, share it with all your friends, anyone who would like to learn programming. Thanks for watching, and I'm going to see you in my next video. Bye. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Welcome to another video of C++ for beginners. And first things first, make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon as well and share this video with everyone. It really helps me to reach a lot more people. And in this video, I want to show you how you can reverse a number. So your user is going to enter a number, and what we want to do is we want to write out that number in reverse. So reverse the order of the digits of that number. And here I have opened my Visual Studio, so let's copy the text of this task like this. And the first thing that we need to do is we need to really create a variable. So let's say int number like this, so that our user can enter his value in this variable here. So let's write out a message to our user. So let's say cout number like this, so that our user knows that he should enter a number, and then let's accept that value in our number variable. Oh, number, like this. Now, after our user has entered a number, let's really think about how we are going to solve this problem. Okay, I get it. So the first thing that I notice here is that we are missing a variable, and that variable is going to be the one that is going to hold our reversed number. So let's declare it here. I'm going to add it here, and I'm going to call it, let's say, reversed number, like this. And I'm initially going to assign it a value of 0. Okay, and now the algorithm that we are going to use in order to solve this task, in order to reverse our number. So the algorithm that we are going to use is going to be the following. So this reverse number here, it is holding a value of 0 initially, and this number here is the one that our user enters. So let's say, for example, that our user enters a value of 123, like this, so 123. So how we are going to reverse this number here? The algorithm is going to be following. So we are going to iterate through this number here. So all the digits of this number here, we are going to go through those. And in each iteration, we are going to do the following. So the first thing is we are going to say, please take this reverse number and multiply it by 10. So 0 times 10 is going to stay 0. After that, what we are going to do is we are going to take this last digit of our number that our user has entered, and we are going to add that number to our reverse number. So 0 plus 3, and that is going to be equal to 3. And after that, we are going to really remove that last digit of our number. So I'm going to delete that digit. And then in our next iteration, what we are going to do is the same thing. So we are taking this reverse number, we are going to multiply it by 10. So I'm going to say 3 times 10, that is going to be equal to 30. And after that, we are going to take this last digit of our number, and we are going to add that digit to this number here, so to this reversed number. So 30 plus 2, that is going to be equal to 32. And then we can really remove this last digit here. So I'm going to delete it. After that, we are going to the third iteration, and we are doing the same thing. So we are taking this reversed number, multiplying it by 10. So 32 times 10 is going to be equal to 320. And then we are taking the last digit of our number. This is this one here. And we have to add that digit to our reversed number. So 320 plus 1 is going to be equal to 321. And after that, as we did before, we can really remove this digit here. And then in my next iteration, we are going to come here again, and our loop is really going to see that there is nothing else left to iterate through. So there are no more digits. And then it is really going to leave that loop. And at that moment, we are really going to have our reversed number. So 321, that is reverse number from the one that our user has initially entered. So let's now translate this algorithm into our code. So the loop that we are going to use in order to solve this problem here is going to be while loop. So I'm going to write while, and then in these parentheses here, I'm going to really give it an expression that is going to check each time that it wants to run an iteration. And what we are going to iterate through are the digits of this number here, so the number that our user has entered. So I'm going to say, please iterate through this part here. So execute this block of code here, which is currently empty, while our number, so number, where is it, is different than 0, like this. Okay, and inside here we are going to write out the algorithm that I just explained. And the first step of that algorithm was really multiplying our reversed number by 10. So I'm going to say reversed number is equal to reversed number times 10, like this. Okay, and the shorter way to write this expression here is going to be like this. So you can really take this part here, delete it, and say it like this. It is going to do absolutely the same thing. So it is going to really multiply our reversed number by 10, and then whatever that results in, it is going to assign that back to our reversed number. So that was the first step. The second step in order to reverse our number is going to be really to take the last digit of this number that our user has entered. So how can we do that? We can do that by modulating this number here by 10. So I'm going to declare a variable. Let's call it last digit, like this. And as we already said, we can get that last digit if we modulate this number here. Where is it? So this number that our user has entered by 10, okay. That is going to give us the last digit of this number here. And then what we really want to do is we really want to add that last digit to our reversed number. That was one part of this algorithm. So the next step. So I'm going to say reversed number plus equal to last digit, like this. Or you can write it a longer way, but this way I prefer to write it this way. But you can as well say reverse number is equal to reverse number plus last digit. And after we have added that last digit to our reverse number, there is one more step left to do, and that is to really take that last digit from our number. And how we can do that? Well, we can really do that by dividing our number by 10. So you can say number is equal to number divided by 10, or number divided equal to 10, whichever way you prefer. Okay, so this is really the algorithm that we explained, and this step here you can really write out the shorter way if you want. So you can say, for example, reverse number plus equal to number modulated by 10, like this. So you can make your code a bit more readable if you prefer it this way, or you can leave this part here and then really add your last digit to your reversed number. So now that we have done this algorithm here, let's write out our reversed number and see what we have done. So I'm going to write out cout, and I'm going to say reversed, like this, okay. And I'm going to write out our reversed number. Okay, let me delete these empty spaces, and if I run my program now, it asks us to enter a number. So let's enter number 123, and now if I press enter, you can see that our program has really reversed this number here. So let's quickly one more time explain how this has happened. So our while loop has really iterated through this number here, so that in each iteration it is going to do the following. So it is going to take our reverse number, and initially that reverse number is equal to 0, so it is going to multiply that by 10, so it stays 0, and after that is going to take that reverse number and add it the last digit of our number that our user has entered. So that is going to be in a first iteration number 3. So our reverse number in that case becomes 3. So 0 plus 3 is equal to 3. And after that, we are going to really take that last digit from our number that our user has entered. So it has taken this 3 part away. And then in the second iteration that's coming here, it is going to check again whether our number is not equal to 0. And our number is going to be 12 in that situation, so that is not equal to 0. So it enters here again. It executes this block of code here. So it says again, please multiply my reverse number by 10 and assign that again to my reverse number. So our reverse number was 3, and if you multiply by 10, if you multiply 3 by 10, you're going to get 30. After that, it is taking the last digit of the number that our user has entered, which is 2 now, because 3 we have taken away in our previous iteration. So it is going to add that 2 to my reversed number. So reverse number is going to become 32 now. And then it is really going to take that last digit from our number away. It is going to divide it by 10. So now we are left with number 1, and our reverse number is equal to 32. And then it goes back to our third iteration. It checks again whether our number, so whether our remaining number is equal to 0, and this 1 here is the value of our number, so that is not equal to 0, so this condition here is fulfilled. It can enter the while loop, so it does this algorithm here again. So it says, please multiply my reverse number by 10. Our reverse number at this point is 32, so when you multiply that by 10, you get 320. And then after that, it takes the last digit of our number, which is going to be this one. So this one here, which is the last one remaining. So it is going to take this one and add it to my reversed number, as you can see here. And then it is really going to take that last digit away. So it is going to take all of these 3 digits away. So it has taken them in the previous iterations, and now it has taken this one away as well. So our number is equal to 0 now. And then it goes back to our fourth iteration. It checks whether our number is not equal to 0, but in this iteration our number is equal to 0. So it really leaves this loop here. So it is not going to enter in this loop anymore, and then it goes here and it really writes out the value of our reversed number, which is this line of code here. So that is how we have reversed our number. So I hope that you like this video and that you understand this explanation. If you have any questions, write those in the comments down below, and also share this video with all your friends, with anyone who would like to learn programming. And thanks for watching. I'm going to see you in my next video. Bye. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Welcome to another video of C++ for beginners. If you are already a subscriber, welcome back. And if you're a new viewer, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell icon as well, and welcome to my channel. So in this video, I want to talk about the while loop. And in my previous videos, we have already talked about while loop and iteration in general. So if you are not familiar with those, make sure to watch that video. I'm going to link it here. But in this video, I want to explain to you how and when is used do while loop. And I'm going to give you an example of a program that is usually used. And for example, applications such as when you try to unlock your phone and then you are given 3 attempts to guess your PIN. And if you guess it correctly, then you can proceed loading your phone's applications further. Or for example, if you want to unlock your credit card, so you put your credit card in ATM and then it gives you 3 attempts to unlock your credit card. If you guess your PIN correctly, you can proceed further. But if you fail, so if you don't guess your PIN correctly in those 3 attempts, your account gets blocked. So that is the application that we are going to make today. And for that, we are going to use do while loop. So there are 3 things that we need, actually 3 variables. So I'm going to declare those 3 here. The first one is going to be our, let's say, the PIN of our user. So let's call it user's PIN, like this, which is going to be really the correct PIN, the one that you want to guess. So I'm going to put here, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. That is going to be our user's PIN. After that, we need another variable, which is going to be really the PIN that our user enters. So let's call that variable just PIN. Okay, like this. And then the third variable that we need is going to be really counter of our errors. So the counter of the attempts and errors that our user has made. So I'm going to call that variable error counter, like this, and let's set that value initially to 0. Okay, And the next thing that we need to do is we really need to give our user 3 attempts in order to guess this pin here. And if he guesses it correctly in those 3 attempts, we are going to write out that the application can be loaded further. So we are going to write out application is loading or something like that. But in the case that our user does not guess this pin here, so this pin here correctly, we are going to really write out that the application or credit card, whatever, has been blocked. And how we are going to do that? So we are going to use do while loop. So I'm going to write out do like this. And then here I'm going to put while, because that is the syntax of our do while loop. Okay, and here you need semicolon, because if you don't put it, you are going to get a syntactic error. Now here we put the block of code that we want to execute in each iteration, and here we put the condition that we want to check each time that this code here is executed. We come here and then we check that condition, and if this condition here that we put is correct, we are going to go again here and do one more iteration, and then again check, and then do one more iteration, and we are going to repeat that until this condition that we put here is no longer true. When this condition here, when it becomes false, we are going to leave our do while loop. Okay, so what do we want to enter? So what do we want actually to do in this block of code here? We really want to write out a message to our user so that he knows that he should enter a pin, and then we want to really accept that pin that our user enters in this variable here. So let's do that first. I'm going to write out cout like this, and then let's just write out pin like this. And let's accept the value that our user has entered in our pin variable like this. Okay. And then after we have done this, what we need to do is we really need to check whether this pin here, so this pin that our user has entered, corresponds to this pin here. So whether this value is equal to this value here. And if they are not, that means that our user has failed. So in that case, we are going to increase our errors counter. So I'm going to put here if pin is not equal to user's pin like this. What we want to do is we want to really increase our errors counter variable like this. Okay, and this code here, so we want to give the attempt to our user so that he can enter a pin, and then we want to check whether that pin is correct 3 times, or until this pin here and this pin here are the same. So until they are equal, or until our user has used all of these 3 attempts that we have given to him. Okay, so here I'm going to really put that condition. So here inside these parentheses, I'm going to write out, please do this block of code here while our, let's say, while our errors counter is less than 3, like this, and then also at the same time while our pin is not equal to user's pin, like this, which means that this block of code here is going to be executed while our user has not used all of these 3 attempts that we have given to him, and while this pin here, so this pin here and this pin here are not equal. In a situation where this here results as false, we are going to come here, and after that, when we come here, we really want to check whether we have left this do while loop here because our errors counter has reached 3, or because these 2 were the same. In a situation where our errors counter has reached 3, that means that our user has used 3 attempts and that he has not guessed his pin correctly. So I'm going to put here if our errors counter is less than 3, like this, and this condition here really means that this do while loop has been left in a situation where our user has not used all of these 3 attempts that we have given to him. That means that this while condition has really failed on this part here. So that means that our user has entered 1, 2, 3, 4 as PIN, and in that situation 1, 2, 3, 4 is not equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. That results as false. So this whole expression here, this whole condition results in false, and then we leave our do while loop. And in that situation, if our user has not used all of these 3 attempts, that really means that he has guessed his PIN correctly. So here in this if situation, we can write out to our user, cout, you have guessed, or you can proceed with loading of this application. So I'm going to write out just loading, like this. But in a situation where our while loop has been left because this errors counter is greater than 3, actually it is going to be equal to 3. That means that our user has failed in guessing his PIN 3 times, and that means probably that he is not trying to unlock his phone or his credit card. So in that situation, we are really going to block that account. So we can say else cout blocked, like this. Okay, and I'm going to put one more here, like this. So this is going to be a program that we really use to allow our user to enter 3 attempts of his PIN, and in a situation where he guesses that PIN correctly in those 3 attempts, we are going to write out to our user that he has successfully unlocked his phone, for example, and we can proceed with loading of applications. But in a situation where he really uses all of those 3 attempts and fails to guess his PIN, we can write out that the application is blocked. Oh, blocked. Now it's okay. So let me run this program, and let's try to use 3 attempts. So I'm going to say that my first attempt is going to be, for example, 1, 1, 1, 1, like this. So it says you have not guessed correctly, please enter your PIN again. This is what it means. After that, I'm going to try, for example, 2, 2, 2, 2. It tries to prompt me to enter my PIN again because I have failed previously. And let's say that my third attempt is going to be 3, 3, 3, 3, like this. And then it has written out a message that my account has been blocked because I have missed 3 times. Okay, so that is one scenario, and the other scenario is going to be really where we guess, the one where we guess our PIN correctly. So let's say that our first attempt is going to be 1, 1, 1, 1 again, and after that we really remember what is the correct PIN, and we enter 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. And then if I press enter, it says really you are loading, you can load your application now, or the further loading of your application is going to begin now, because we have guessed the correct PIN. So let me very quickly explain one more time how has this happened. So this code here, when we come to this do while loop, the first thing that is executed is this line here. So it says please enter your PIN, and then after your user enters the PIN, your program really checks whether that PIN is equal to user's PIN, so the previous PIN, the one that he needs to guess. And if those 2 are not equal, that means that your user has not guessed correctly, and then you want to increase your errors counter, so the number of attempts that your user has used and failed actually in using. So we increase in our first iteration that errors counter to 1, so from 0 to 1, and then we come here, and then our loop really checks whether that errors counter is less than 3, so 1 is less than 3, that is true. And also it checks whether that PIN here is not equal to the PIN that we need to guess. And in this situation, it is not equal. So it also, this whole expression results as true, and it now can go here again. So it prompts you again to enter the PIN. So you can enter the PIN now. And in this situation, we enter 2222, for example. And then it guesses, it checks again. So it checks whether PIN that you have entered, so 2222, is not equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 2 are not equal, so it increases the errors counter once more, and it becomes 2 now. Then you go here, and then it says, okay, please check whether my user has used all of these 3 attempts. It says that your errors counter is still less than 3. So you have used only 2 attempts so far. And then this condition here results as true because you have entered 2222, and that is not equal to your PIN, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it goes back here, tries to prompt you one more time to enter your PIN. And then if you fail this time, it increases your errors counter to 3, like this. And then it goes here and it checks whether your errors counter is less than 3. Your errors counter in this iteration has become 3, so this condition here results as false, and your do while loop actually is now broken. So you are not going to continue the execution of your do while loop, but you come here, and then it checks whether errors counter is less than 3, because this here fails, because this here results as false. You are presented with this message here, so blocked. Your phone, your account has been blocked. Okay, and in a situation where your user guesses correctly that errors counter is going to be less than 3, and you are going to be presented with a message of loading. And there is one important thing that I want to mention, and that is really the difference between while loop and do while loop. In do while loop, you first do, so you first execute this block of code here, and then you check the condition. And then if that condition results as true, you go back and you again do this block of code here. And then you check, and then you do. But in a situation of while loop, you first check the condition, and then if that condition results as true, then you can really proceed with executing your block of code that comes after your while. But in this situation here, so in the situation of do while loop, you first do this block of code here. So irrelevant whether this condition here is true or not, you are going to do this block of code here at least once. I hope that you liked this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe to my channel and click that bell icon as well. And also, if you want me to post more videos like this, make sure to like this video, because then I will know that you liked it. And, well, that's all. I'm going to see you in my next video. Bye! Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Welcome to another video of C++ for beginners. In this video, I want to talk about for loops, but before we start, make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon as well. Okay, so what I'm going to explain today, I want to explain to you how for loop works, and I'm going to explain that on a simple example, which is calculating the factorial of a number. So let me copy the text of our task here, like this, and I'm going to comment it out. So what is the factorial of a number? Factorial of a number is usually defined as a product of all numbers between 1 and that number that you want to calculate the factorial of. That means, for example, if your user enters number 6, let's say, and you want to calculate the factorial of number 6, you are going to do that in a following way. So 1 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 3, 4, 5, and 6, okay, and then this here is going to result in 720, so this 720 is really going to be the result of your factorial of 6. And this example here is what we want to really translate in our program. So we want our user to enter a number, and then we want to calculate the factorial of that number and write that result out to our user. And we are going to use for loop for that. So let me quickly declare a variable which is going to be called number, okay, like this. And let's prompt our user that he should enter a number. And then let's really store that number that our user enters in our number variable. Okay, so after we have acquired a number that we want to calculate our factorial of, let's explain how we are going to really do that. So I'm going to do that using for loop, and what is the difference between for loop and while loop and do while loop? Because we have previously talked about while loop and do while loop as well. You can find those videos on my channel if you're interested, and I'm going to link those videos in the description of this video if you want to watch them. So the difference is that usually when you use for loop, beforehand you should know how many iterations that loop is going to make. So for how long your loop is going to run. So let me show you the syntax of our for loop. You say for, and then you use these parentheses here in which we are going to put certain expressions in a moment. And after that you put these curly brackets in which we are going to write out the code that is going to be executed in each iteration of our for loop. So inside these parentheses here we need to put three things. What are those three things? The first one is going to be to set the initial value of our counter variable. That is the first one. After that, the second is going to be to really put the condition that your for loop is going to check each time that it wants to run this block of code here. So before each iteration, it is going to check that condition. So that is going to be the second thing. And after that, the third thing is going to be really a way for your counter value to come to that condition, which means that you have to either increase or decrease your counter variable in order to reach that condition at certain point, and then when that condition results as false, your for loop is not going to be executed anymore. Okay, so those are three things that we need to put in these parentheses here. And let's now look at this example here, because from here we are going to really deduct which conditions, which expressions we are going to put here. So if you notice this algorithm here, because this is really algorithm, nothing else, you see that this is really a counter. This behaves as counter. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and it really starts at 1, and then it goes up to that value that your user has entered. So we can use that for our expression here. The first expression is initial value of our counter. We need to declare that variable, and we are going to call that variable I. You can call it counter or whatever you want, really. Your compiler is not going to give you an error because of that, but the common practice is to use a single letter variable name for this counter that you use in your for loop. So I'm going to use name I for that, and the initial value of my I counter is going to be 1, because as you can see here, it really starts on 1, and then after that we need to put the condition that your for loop is going to check each time that it wants to run a new iteration. And that condition, as you can see here, is really this expression here. This algorithm runs until it comes to this 6, until it comes to the value that your user has entered. So we are going to put that here. We are going to say, please run this block of code here until my I is less or equal to number, like this, so whichever number our user enters. And then the third thing is going to be really to give our loop a way to reach this condition here at some point, which means to make this condition here false and then leave our for loop. And again, we look here and you can see that your counter is really increasing in each iteration by 1. Okay, so here we are going to put I++, which is in each iteration going to increase the value of our I counter by 1. Okay, so after we have put these expressions in these parentheses of our for loop, we need to really put a block of code that is going to be executed in each iteration of our for loop. And I'm going to declare, before this for loop here, I'm going to declare another variable, which I'm going to call factorial, and I'm going to give it a type of int. Okay, like this. And I'm going to assign the initial value to my factorial variable, and that is going to be 1. And then how I'm going to use this factorial variable. In each iteration of my for loop, I want to say that my factorial is going to be equal to whatever my factorial was previously holding, multiply that by my current I value, which means by the current value of my counter. And how this is going to behave. So let's say that our user enters, for example, number 3, and then your execution comes here and it says, please declare a variable which is going to be called factorial, and it is going to have a value of 1. So we have assigned that value here, and then it comes to your for loop. The first thing that your for loop is going to do is it is going to declare this I variable here and assign it a value of 1. So we are going to write that here. So we are going to say I is equal to 1. And then it really goes here and checks this condition here before it determines whether it's going to run this block of code here or not. So if this here results as true, it is going to run this block of code here, and if not, it is going to leave your for loop. So is your I less or equal to the number that your user has entered? So your I is going to be 1, and then that is less or equal to 3. So your for loop is going to execute this block of code here, which means that it is going to come here and say factorial multiplied by 1, which is going to be 1 multiplied by 1, and that is going to result as 1. And it is going to assign the result of this here to your factorial variable, which is going to stay 1. After that, your for loop comes here, and at this close bracket here, it really goes here, and it increases the value of your I. And this increment operator is going to increase it by 1, so your I now becomes 2. And then after that, it goes back here and checks this condition here. So it says, please check whether my 2 is less or equal to the number that your user has entered. So 2 is less or equal to 3. So it is going to run this block of code here again, and then it is going to do following. So it is going to say, please multiply my factorial value, so the previous value that my factorial was holding, which is 1, by the current value of my I, which is 1 multiplied by 2. That is going to result as 2, and that is going to be assigned to your factorial variable. So we assign 2 here, okay? And then it goes back to these close brackets, and then it goes here, increases the value of your I again. So your I now is 3, and then it really checks this condition here. So whether 3 is less or equal to 3, the result of that is going to be yes. So it is going to do this expression here again. So the current value of your factorial, which is going to be 2, multiplied by the current value of your counter variable, which is going to be 3. So 2 multiplied by 3, that is going to be 6, and that is going to be assigned to your factorial variable. After that, it goes here, and then it really increases again the value of your I variable, so of the counter that you are using in your for loop, and that value becomes 4 now. After that, it is going to try to check this expression here, so this condition here, and 4 is not less or equal to 3, so your for loop is not going to execute anymore, and then your execution comes here, and at this line of code here, it has the value of 6 in your factorial variable, which means that we are left only with the need to write out this to our user. So we need to say, let's say it like this, number, okay, and then let's say factorial of that number is going to be equal to, and then let's write out the result. So the result we are holding in our factorial variable like this. So this should really write out the result of this here. So the factorial of this number that our user has entered. And if I run my program, you can see that it asks us to enter a number. I'm going to say, let's say for example 3. And then if I press enter, it is going to give us the result of 6, which is the correct result, the one that we previously got. Let's run it one more time, just to check this number here. So I'm going to say, please give me a factorial of 6, and it calculates that the factorial of 6 is 720, as we did before. So this is going to be really one way of writing this for loop for this current example. So for calculating factorial, I want to show you another way how you can do exactly the same thing. So I'm going to really comment this part of code here. So I'm going to say comment this block of code here. And then there is another way to write these parentheses here. So as you can see, this example here is what we have used in order to write these expressions inside these parentheses. But there is really one more way to calculate your factorial, and that is going to be to start at this maximum value, which means 6 factorial is equal to 6 multiplied by 5, by 4, 3, 2, 1, and that is going to be equal to 720. So now you start your counter at this maximum value, so this number that your user has entered, and then you really decrease the value of your counter, and you go until your counter value comes to 1, and that is the condition when you stop. So your 1 value of a counter is going to be the last iteration through your for loop. So now we are going to write out, we are going to really write our for loop using this algorithm here. So we are going to say for, and then also put these parentheses, which we are going to use for the block of code that we want to run through in each iteration. And in these parentheses here, I'm going to set the initial value of my counter. That is going to be I is equal to, and as you can see here, our I starts at 6. So I'm going to put here 6, which means a number that our user has entered. In this current situation, it is 6. But since we want to calculate the factorial of whichever number our user decides to enter, I'm going to use that variable here. Okay, and then the condition that your for loop is going to check each time that it wants to make a new iteration, and that is going to be, please run this block of code here until my I is greater than or equal to 1. Okay, and then the last thing that we need to put here is going to be really a way for our for loop to stop at a certain point. And if you look at this example here, you see that your counter is decreasing by 1 in each iteration. So we are going to put that here. We are going to say I minus minus, which means use this decrement operator on our I variable. And then we are going to really use the same expression here. Okay. And this is going to give us the exactly the same result as this code here did. So if I run my program, you can see that it asks number again. So if I enter number 6, for example, it is going to give us 720, as this code here did as well. So let's repeat one more time. There are 3 things that you need to put in these parentheses here in order to set up your for loop. And the first one of those 3 is going to be to set the initial value of your I variable, which means the initial value of your counter. After that, you need to put the condition, which is going to be checked each time that your for loop wants to run an iteration. And if this condition here results as true, your for loop is going to run this block of code here. But if this condition here results as false, your for loop is not going to run this block of code here, but you are really going to leave your for loop and come to the next line after it. And then the third thing that you need to put in these parentheses here is going to be really to either increase or decrease value of your counter variable so that it can reach this condition here at certain point and make it false. So we have decreased it in this example here, and we have increased it in this example here. So those are 3 things that you need to put inside these parentheses here, and you really need to separate those 3 using this semicolon sign. Okay, and there is one more thing that I need to mention, and that is going to be really, you can upgrade this program here so that it checks whether this number here is greater than 0, because you cannot calculate factorial of negative numbers, so our program is not going to behave as expected if you enter negative number, and also the factorial of 0 is going to be equal to 1. So you can put that code here and determine whether your user has entered positive or negative number. And in case that your user has entered negative number, make sure to write out appropriate message to your user. So I think that is all. If you like this video and if you learned something new, make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon as well. Share it on your social media because it really helps me to reach a lot more people so that all of us can learn and upgrade our knowledge in programming. And I'm going to see you in my next video. Bye. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Welcome to another video of C++ for beginners. In this video I want to talk about nesting loops. In my previous videos we have talked about while loop, do while loop, and for loop, and now I want to show you the example on how you can really combine and nest those loops. So if you haven't watched my previous videos or you're not familiar with loops at all, I recommend you to watch those. I'm going to link those in the description of this video. And also before we start, make sure to subscribe to my channel and click that bell icon as well. So what are we going to do in this video? I want to really show you how you can nest for loop and do while loop, and the example that I'm going to use to explain that is going to be following. So I want my user, which is going to be a student, let's say, to enter 3 grades or more. If you want, we are going to use 3 for this example. And I want those grades to be between 1 and 5. And then I want to write out the average grade, so the average grade between those 3 that he has entered. So let's start building our program. The first thing that I need to explain is, since we are going to enter 3 grades, that means that we are going to repeat that entering process 3 times. And for that I'm going to use for loop, so I'm going to write for, and then in these parentheses here I'm going to put my initial setup of for loop, which is going to be, the first thing is going to be initial value of our counter. So I'm going to declare a counter, which is going to be called I, and initially I'm going to give it a value of 0. That is the